Okay, hello there everybody, I'm Subodonani2AK Nightmare, and once again, welcome back to Chaos Head. Looks like last episode we ended up dealing with a lot of shifting perspectives, as in we got to see things through a different set of eyes this time, ergo, homeless gumshoe. Or homeless competent gumshoe. Slightly more competent, there we go, specifically. Gumshoe's competent. And now, our boy is potentially a suspect in the crucifixion murder, or rather the new gen murder cases. He is gonna be in a little bit of trouble because little Miss Pink-haired girl's so nowhere to be seen in that little bit of footage. As well as pointing out that I'm glad I was able to notice it, that he himself is in that photo in the lower left corner once he rose up the gamma and shit like that. Although it wasn't really much of a gamma, he just kind of went with some weird filter that changed all the colors. But anyway, that's not the most important thing. He's in that photo. And he's in some security footage. As if we needed any more things to cause his paranoia to go fucking out of, like, completely out of whack. This little weirdo just can't catch a break. And apparently now we're in Yua's perspective, apparently. So let's do this. Kusunoki Yua faced the PC in her room, her profile gravely serious. She swiftly read through the information displayed on the monitor. Before long, Yua let out a small sigh and released her hand from the mouse, glancing at a piece of paper sitting within reach of her. Whoa, Shogun, the formulas killed this world's possibilities. Thought it might interest you. It was the very same paper she had put before Nishijo Takumi the day before. The printout of the chat log between Neidhart and Shogun.
Nishijo-kun.
Yua muttered a single name. The view of Takumi sitting alone on that Shota Park bench appeared in her mind, before she quickly shook her head to drown it out. Suddenly, she looked behind herself in surprise.
今、誰かに見られていたような。
Whose eyes are those? Her gaze stopped upon a large stuffed Girofragi enshrined on her bed. I was expecting there to be a CG that would actually make it look incredibly weird, but I'm guessing it's not going to be the case. Plot twist, there's probably a camera inside that damn thing. Wondering if it had been just her imagination, she tilted her head in puzzlement. Then she slowly rose to her feet, walked over to her bed, and fell onto it head first. The sheets smelled of the sun. What does the sun smell like? Actually, I don't want to know. It seemed that her mother had kindly dried the futon earlier today. Yua buried her face in that relieving scent, her gaze wandering about vacantly. Her room was very neat and orderly, placing her meticulous personality on full display. This especially applied to her large bookshelf, which was rather incongruous for a room sized at around 13 square meters. It was packed tightly with countless books, leaving hardly any gaps. However, charmingly, the lower half consisted of nothing but complex academic books, computing-related books, and other similar material, contrasting greatly with the upper half, which was filled with shoujo manga and anime DVDs. That's a hell of a bookshelf. With another sigh, Yua turned her body face up and stared at the ceiling.
DID.
Dissociative identity disorder? Yep. She muttered the name of the mental illness she had just been researching. We're just gonna ignore that. A condition in which a single person has more than one... by the way, I'm reading this just for here. A condition in which a single person has more than one personality, commonly referred to as DID. A personality is defined as a continuous pattern of engaging with one's environment while being aware of the environment and their ego. In other words, a human being's ego presents itself by recognizing the continuous passage of time, confirming that their actions and subsequently received information are consistent, and from there is themselves. Personality change in DID is sudden and can be triggered by psychological stress, social stress, as well as various other environmental factors. The disorder is characterized by many cases in which the different personalities do not retain the same memories. She muttered the name of the mental illness she'd just been researching. An explanation related to it was still displayed on her monitor.
辛いんですね。
Yua hugged the stuffed Gyro Froggy by her pillow tightly as she thought about Takumi.
でも、私、
Are you assuming that he actually has DID? Well, I can't immediately make any... I can't make any information on... I can't say anything about that. Anyway, we'll continue the reading of this, by the way. The age of onset is in early childhood, but it may not always be clinically apparent. It is easier for the disorder to become chronic should the patient have experienced some form of childhood abuse or psychological trauma. It was first referred to as multiple personality disorder in the DSM-3, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 3rd edition, published in 1980, by the American Psychiatric Association, and while the name may be commonplace, it has not been used since the DSM-4, 1994. Yeah. Which kind of brings up in the whole thing about how overused, quote-unquote, multiple personality disorder is, and how sometimes it's heavily misrepresented. Especially considering the most common form of using a multiple personality disorder in terms of writing a story is, oh, I'm split personalities with a secret badass or a secret serial killer. That seems to be the most popular one. It's always the most common one because, according to some fiction, the most common form of dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality disorders is having a personality that's raging and evil and brooding and monstrous and just evil again. That seems to be the most common thing. However, her expression soon vanished, replaced only by the gritting of her teeth. Which is funny considering like one of my favorite characters is ironically because of that overused, trope. And our boy Takumi is having a panic attack. It hurt to breathe. All I was doing was looking things up on my PC, yet it hurt to breathe. I could feel my heart pounding harder than it had ever had before. And of course, the feeling that something was watching me would not go away. I was still just barely keeping myself from turning around, but I knew I couldn't do it for much longer. Just yelling at somebody to just show themselves. I cried out angrily at whatever it was. Surely it wasn't the demon girl, right? Oh god, what if it was? She could be using second sight or clairvoyance or some other demonic power to spy on me. Ooh, clairvoyance. A psychic ability that allows a person to see far beyond normal human perception. With this power, which is what is normally impossible to see with the naked eye, due to distance, angle obstructions, etc., can be perceived. The power can manifest in many ways, such as simply enhancing one's natural vision or seeing distant things in the form of still images. I gotta give props to the VA who's playing as Takumi. He's doing a good job. Oh, a red flash. That's new. The chills in the back of my neck were gradually growing stronger, to the point where they were getting slightly painful, like jolts of electricity coursing through my body. I was covered from head to toe in sweat. The front of my t-shirt was completely soaked. Unable to take it anymore, I whipped around in my chair as forcefully as I could, and yet all I saw was my room, in the same condition as always. I didn't see a single thing that shouldn't have been there. With a yell that was closer to a shriek than anything, I burst up from my chair and went to make sure the door was locked. And much to my relief, it was. I wiped away the sweat on my forehead with my sleeve. If there really is some sick god that's kind of messing with him right now, this is kind of fucked up. I mean, our main character is not really a good guy, but this is legitimately, like, fucking with his head. Returning to my PC, I focused on the monitor once more. It was still displaying what I'd been researching earlier. Precognition. Ah, shit, this shit again. When I was a kid, I truly believed that precognition existed, that psychics existed, and if I was being completely honest, I still did to a degree. That was why my first thought that had been that the image from Shogun and the demon girl was a precognitive photograph, a thought which only drove me to look into it all the more. What if, maybe, just maybe, there were tons of psychics all over the world, and I just didn't know. Back when I was a kid, when that bus accident happened, I'd managed something that had been pretty close to precognition. For that reason, I couldn't completely rule out its existence. But no matter how much I searched, all I could find was extremely dubious articles about the occult, voodoo shit, or whatever else. There was absolutely nothing that proved scientifically whether it existed or not.
一つぐらいあってもいいだろう。
Growing increasingly frustrated, I violently tapped away at the keyboard. I couldn't deal with how anxious not having a concrete answer made me. Was the world really telling me to give up? To wait here, trembling in fear of demons that might or might not come? I couldn't stay sane like that. Of course, I would have vastly preferred to learn that precognition didn't exist, but regardless of what the truth was, I needed to know it. Badly. Pretty much out of options, I decided to look at A-Channel's occult board. You really shouldn't be doing that. The place was typically home to nothing but total BS noise, lies and misinformation mainly, but it actually had some pretty mind-blowing and even useful information scattered on it sometimes. Biting back how frantic I was, I opened up A-Channel. Then, I clicked on the occult board and gave precognition a search. And when I did... Precognition and prophecies. Phantasm General New Gen 4383. Shittily predicting the future of Japan. Precognition thread number 6, 182. Number of dudes who want FES-tive, Queen of Precognition to kick their shit in, 967. The Messiah, FES Precognition discussion. Precognition. Fuck Phantasm, thread number 11. More like superstition. What do you guys think of the Phantasm's prophetic songs? Phantasm's prophetic songs. My search pulled up a surprising number of threads, about 30 of them. Was precognition a hot topic on @channel at the moment? With the gulp, I checked the thread titles one by one.
Phantasm FES.
Phantasm FES. Most of the threads contained those two keywords. In addition, New Gen discussion had also wormed its way in, with lots of unsettling terms like prophetic lyrics and murderer being used. Okay. Having never heard of Phantasm before, I went to Google them. Apparently, they were a Shibuya-based 4-piece gothic punk band that had been doing live concerts recently. They were so popular, in fact, that they were completely dominating the indie music scene, with a female vocalist known only as FES. Anyway, to check whether it was related to precognition or not, I clicked on the thread at the top titled Precognition and Prophecies, Phantasm General, New Gen 43, and gave the contents a brief skim. Okay, whoa, okay. Black Mass. Why was that a new tip that just popped up? That's a bit concerning. Also known as a witch's Sabbath, a ritual performed by satanic cults. Although it is referred to as a Sabbath, it is the exact opposite of the masses held by the Catholic Church. When a black mass begins, the devil appears in the form of a giant goat. It is said that the witches then kiss the goat's buttocks, drink the blood of infants instead of wine, read aloud grimoires, and perform various impure acts. What? One theory states that the whole concept is nothing but a delusion crafted and perpetuated by sexually repressed priests and theologians in order to suppress heretics. Considering it's the church, kind of makes sense. I mean, what? Though I guess I should have been reading these now that I think about it. Just sit back and enjoy the music for what it is. Anonymous Prophet Sage. FES's stuff ain't bad lyrically, but I def can feel the new gen connection, to be honest. Everyone always talks about FES. Rest in peace, the composer Rio. Poor guy's getting no credit. FES, ton. Fez Ton's lyrics forced me to find the meaning of life. It's a trap. Fez-tards are total shitters, LMAO. I find myself trying to scroll past this. Like, I get on the mouse wheel because I want to scroll this. Look what you did, game. Well, to be honest, I want to be insulted by Fez Summer and that chill voice of hers while she grinds her boots into my ass over and over until it feels like my eyes are going to fall out of their sockets. It would feel so intoxicating. Dude, take that to the BDSM thread. Also, Fez is my waifu, actually. Stop bumping this shit. This is what you guys mean by new gen prophecy stuff? O servant revealed by the light of the moonlit night, connect the phantasmal paths which lead to this place. Little do they know, their screams will soon turn to silence, and repose shall fall upon us as we link hand in hand within the wind. By the way, I say fuck Phantasm. Like, LMAO, their fans are terrifying. You think they're all brainwashed? Oh, hell, now you're getting it. Delete the lyrics, dumbass! What a brainless troll. Those lyrics, depending on how you interpreted them, they could be seen as referring to the group dive. I guess if you combine the... I guess if you think about the link hand in hand within the wind, I guess? And yet, those lyrics had been released 2 months ago, which meant they hadn't been written after the crucifixion.
これが予知ってこと?
You think that might be precognition? Or evidence of it? That's... I don't know how. I think that's just a weird coincidence. But then again, we're in a visual novel, so coincidences don't exist. Or could Phantasm be yet another one of the demon girl's underlings? I read the thread in more detail, only to find out that each of the 3 new gen incidents have all been prophesied by Phantasm's lyrics. However, the lyrics for the songs that supposedly prophesied the man-child and crucifixion incidents had not been posted on that channel. Apparently, uploading them online was viewed as a taboo of sorts. The philosophy seemed to be, if you really want to know, just go to the concerts or buy an album yourself. Regardless, there were a great number of people online trying to predict the next new-gen case based on the songs Phantasm had performed thus far. And apparently, ever since new gen had kicked off, the Phantasm's albums have been completely selling out. Well, any publicity is good publicity when you think about it to some companies. Or at least some groups. Once people start talking about it, their brains start aligning with that, they start thinking about it, and usually that is usually how it goes. Kind of. Sort of. Slightly. They had been so successful, in fact, that even the mainstream media had picked up on it. Gothic band boasting cult following rises among the youth of Shibuya. News stories like that were popping up all over the place. The one writing the lyrics was the head singer, Fez. Nobody knew her real name. What if Fez was actually the demon girl? If she was, it would explain how she'd managed to prophesize the incidents literal months before they'd occurred. The demon girl was the culprit, after all. I tried doing an image search, but I couldn't find any good photos of her face. All the pictures were taken by phones during her concerts, and they were so blurry that I couldn't even begin to make out her face. I wiped my sweat-drenched forehead with the hem of my shirt. I was frustrated. I was scared. I couldn't believe anything. I didn't even want to see anything. Several emotions swirled within me, suffocating me. My breathing hadn't even come close to stabilizing this entire time. But even so, I knew one thing for certain. I needed to see Fez's face. With trembling fingers, I typed in Phantasm's name and clicked on their official website. Oh. The site was mostly black, decorated only by a text of a uniform deep crimson color. It was unrelenting in its simplicity, and yet It felt so incredibly eerie and strange. There was barely anything on the site at all, just basic information on their concerts and discography. There wasn't even a single image. There were no profiles on the band members, nor anything on their song lyrics.
やっぱり犯人だけあってネットに顔写真が流出しないようにしてるのか。
But then again, if they're having concerts, people would have to have seen their faces. Talk about thorough. I took a look at their performance schedule and saw that they typically performed about every other week. Their next concert was...
あさって。
The day after tomorrow? That's pretty fucking close. If I went to it, I'd be able to check whether Fez is the demon girl or not. But even if I did find out they were one and the same, what would I even do? Report Fez to the police? Cry and beg for her to leave me alone? Bring a crucifix and attempt a mock exorcism? Yeah, none of those are gonna happen. I was up against a demon. There was no way in hell an otaku freak like me could come out on top. Problem is, if I didn't, I'd die. She'd transform my corpse into her newest art piece, and I'd be posted on the All Things New Gen site as yet another case.
そんなのやだ。
But if I didn't do something, I'd never find out what that picture of me that Shogun had sent really meant. And on the off chance that Fez wasn't connected to the demon girl, maybe I could ask her to help me fight against whoever the demon girl actually was.
だけどやっぱり無理だ。ライブなんて行けるわけがない。
Too many people. That and I don't do concerts either. I'd never been to one in my life. That sort of thing was infinitely beyond my comfort zone. Not to mention, concert halls were cramped and dark and noisy and crowded. Just imagining a place like that made me want to hurl. I was at my wit's end. I had no idea what to do. Oh, red flash. The chills on the back of my neck still hadn't gone away, and the painful prickling sensation suddenly turned into a burning one. I looked behind me yet again, but like always, nobody was there.
もうやめてよ。
I closed my eyes tightly, focusing on nothing other than waiting for the gaze to disappear. I didn't want to go through this torment for the rest of my life. For all I knew, the gaze would just straight up kill me someday.
考えろ、匠。僕にできることを考えろ。
Don't think about Sarah. Wait, are we about to have another perspective switch? Hello? Hiding in the shadow of a telephone pole, I looked at the Gigante's concert hall from afar. After agonizing it over all day yesterday, I'd somehow managed to nut up and did what needed to be done. Oh, fuck, we're still talking to me? So here I was, Gigantes. It was located on the narrow street in Shibuya, beneath the elevated railroad tracks. It had a very distinct red brick exterior. The exterior was lit up too, giving off an old-fashioned austere vibe that made it feel as if I'd been transported back in time to the 50s or something. To think that a spot like this was in Shibuya of all places. I had no idea it even existed until yesterday. It was only 5 minutes from the station on foot, yet there weren't very many people at all. Every once in a while, a train would pass over the elevated tracks with a tremendous roar, and the telephone pole I was hiding behind would tremble slightly, but that was about it. Just a moment ago, there had been a bunch of what appeared to be Phantasm fans in front of Gigantes. Some of them were wearing outfits so out there, I'd almost mistaken them for cosplayers. However, what surprised me the most was that there honestly weren't that many of them. Despite being such a huge topic online, there must have been no more than 100 people here. There. Regardless, they were all inside the building now. The concert had already begun, but since none of the audio managed to bleed outside, it certainly didn't feel like it. Prepare for copyrighted music. My heart palpitations had gone away after I'd fallen asleep yesterday, but they'd come back with a vengeance the second I'd arrived in front of the venue. It's been so hard to breathe. I'd almost thought I was dealing with some kind of heart failure. But really, I knew exactly why it was so bad. This place was filled with a thick, impenetrable darkness. The demon girl and her underlings could be lurking around any corner. Knowing that, I'd been on the lookout for anyone that might attack me ever since I got here. The sheer anxiety and paranoia was comparable to what it felt like going through the Wands Volcano Dungeon in ESO. I don't know what the fuck that means. Mobs in the Wands Volcano Dungeon were OP as hell. And it was surrounded by the kind of lava that insta-killed you if you so much as clipped it with your pinky toe. That shit couldn't have been play tested. The amount of times I died there, holy hell. I wiped the sweat off my forehead with a hand towel and gulped down a gob of saliva. As I did, the door at the top of the stairs opened, and the furious beating of drums reverberated from inside Gigantes for a few seconds. A single guy exited from the door. He jogged nimbly down the stairs and then toward me. What?
Yo, Taku. Matta ka?
What the fuck? What are you? Huh? I'd invited Misumi-kun to go to the venue with me. As I didn't know his phone number, I'd been forced to go to school today just to ask him to go. That disrupted your entire schedule, didn't it? Oh, that's actually smart. If you're not comfortable going by yourself, bring somebody you know with you. Yeah, if you hadn't come with me, I probably wouldn't have even made it this far. And even if I'd somehow forced myself to go in the building alone, if the demon girl was there, it would be a certified game over. So I had Misumi-kun operate as a scout. I did feel bad about throwing him into the line of fire, so I obviously hadn't told him about that part. The only people I could rely on were him and Nanami, so I picked the less annoying of the two, Misumi-kun. I even covered his ticket cost, so in a sense, you could say I'd hired him for 1,000 yen.
ほらよ。これ CD な。俺自分の分も買っちまったよ。
Thanks? Misumi-kun handed me a Phantasm album. They were being sold for an outrageous premium in online auctions, but I'd heard on @channel that they were also available at their concerts, so I'd asked Misumi-kun to buy one for me. And now that I had one, I'd achieved half of the goals I'd set up for myself. As for the remaining half...
いやー、予想以上にいいな。ファンタズムって。
So you actually enjoyed them? Misumi-kun had been acting pretty excited ever since he'd exited the venue.
俺、あんまミーハーになりたくなかったんで聞こうとしなかったんだけどよ。今日ちょっと生で聞いただけでファンになっちまった。
Instantly, just became a fan after you gave him like one listen, huh? Fascinating. The other thing I'd asked Misumi-kun to do was report anything in particular that stood out about the band members. I knew they would all come out on stage once the concert started, so all I'd wanted him to do was a quick scan, then head back to me right after. And yet, despite my very specific instructions, he hadn't come back for a full 5 minutes after the show started. This is probably because he'd listened to the entirety of the first song.
特にボーカル。ありゃマジでいい女だぜ。
Okay, Battler. What did she look like?
お前、女見る目あるな。
Nani? I sighed internally, thinking with the wrong head like usual. Why was I even surprised? So much for, I'm no sheep.
どんな人だった？
ああ、そっか。報告な。なんか探偵みてえで面白いな。そう思わねえ？
Fair enough. In another timeline, I don't want to spoil that. Fuck. I guess kind of a detective. Kind of? I'm not entirely sure if I can say that in red, though. Misumi-kun grinned at himself, and I pressed him again to tell me about Fez's appearance.
髪型はショートカットだった。
Okay, short hair. Okay, that kind of eliminates our target. And just like that, there was already a huge discrepancy. That mean Fez wasn't the demon girl? No, wait, I couldn't let myself jump to conclusions here. She could have cut her hair, or she could have used hair extensions, or she could have changed it in some other way. It wouldn't surprise me if she'd been in disguise when I'd seen her at the crime scene. I don't think I need to explain what hair extensions are, but they're a type of hair accessory, artificial hair worn primarily to women. Yeah.
スタイルがすっげえ良くて、あと背が高かったな。ありゃ俺と同じぐらいはあるんじゃねえの？
So tall, roughly the same height as you. Okay.
背が
That's two discrepancies. And the same height as you? Misumi-kun and I were about the same height, which meant Fez was probably around 170 meters tall. Centimeters tall. Pretty tall for a girl. But I hadn't gotten that impression at all when I'd encountered the demon girl. My memories from back then were hazy, but I still felt like the demon girl had been shorter than me. Yet another thing that didn't line up. Then...
他には
そうだな。アンニュイな雰囲気してたな。
hair color, if possible.
声はクールってイメージかな。結構ボソボソと喋るタイプだった。
The kind of girl to talk in whispers.
胸のサイズはまあま
I legitimately do not care about the size of her chest.
あ。でもゴスパンの服は妙な色気があったぜ。ああいうのもありだな。断然あり。
Oh, god damn it. Every single word he said was completely fucking useless. Then again, I'd only gotten a quick look at the demon girl, so I couldn't exactly list her features. This plan was probably doomed from the start.
っていうかよ、そんなにフェスに興味あるなら自分の目で見ればいいじゃねえか。ほら、行こうぜ。
Wait, you're gonna drag me in?
え
He's totally gonna drag me in. I knew it! Misumi-kun began to push me from behind, forcing me up the stairs to Gigantes. I desperately tried to fight back, but Misumi-kun was way stronger than me. I couldn't get away.
待って
見たいんだろ、フェスの顔を。素直になるって。
Alright, let's see what she looks like.
浮気ってのは男の差がだよな。たくも大人になったもんだぜ。
No. No, it's not.
は
この前一緒に帰ってたメガネの子のことは今夜だけは気にすんなって。俺も田中のことは忘れるからよ。
You are a horrible person. What the hell was he talking about? I tried to stand my ground and fight back, but to my horror, I realized that I was already at the top of the stairs. While it was only the second floor, if I were to slip and fall, it would hurt like hell. So the thought made me stop resisting it as hard. And in that moment of weakness, my entire body weight was sent crashing through the door and into the venue. Oh, wait, is that who they look? Oh, no. I think that was a guy on the guitar there. The second I hit the inside, an explosion of sound blasted my eardrums. I never experienced something so loud before. Even the pit of my stomach was being forcibly shaken by the vibrations. They were so intense, it felt like as if my entire body was being crushed to pieces. There were no seats in the venue. Everyone was standing up to watch. Whoa, what the fuck? They were all rocking their bodies in rhythm with each other, shouting, FES, 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 or Fez, as their fists shot up and down. Still nowhere near the level of a Wotagai performance, though. Wotagai? Wotagai. A unique cheer or performance that a selection of fans enact at idol concerts and other live shows. Some performances include very intense physical movements, with each and every one of the movements having a specific name to them. Fans in an audience performing Wotagai in perfect coordination is a sight to behold. Okay then. The heat was devastating. It made me want to vomit. I might have been an otaku, but I was definitely not the type to obsess over idols or voice actors. Honestly, I hated this kind of atmosphere. I could tell I stuck out like a sore thumb, but thankfully nobody was paying any attention to me. There were so many people in front of me I could barely see the stage at the far end of the room. Just the blinding stage lights and the faint figures of 4 people standing under them. As I was getting overwhelmed by everything happening around me, Misumi-kun handed me a plastic cup of soda. It seemed like Misumi-kun had paid for my ticket too. I'd have to make sure to pay him back later. So we're gonna see what these people look like? Before I knew it, the song was over. The audience clapped and cheered. Then, having seemingly calmed down a little, everyone brought down their fists. Thanks to that, the road to the stage finally opened up, and I was able to see it clearly. I got a good look at the short-haired girl standing in the middle of the stage. She was definitely not the demon girl.
今日はいつもより調子いいわ。
Yeah, definitely goth. Also, aren't you that same girl from earlier? The one who was singing that little tune? Or is it just the... You look like punk, like goth punk Kyrie, or like teenage Kyrie. Actually, shit, now I can see that.
声がクリアに聞こえる。
Can you hear our voices clearly, ma'am?
世界がとても澄んでいる。
Alright. The voice coming through the amp sounded nothing like the demon girl that had said those cryptic words to me. Miss Yumi-kun was right. Fez definitely had an aloof vibe to her. Despite her short hair, she didn't feel boyish. She gave off this mysterious aura with a mix of charm, allure, and a hint of distance. And to top it all off, the silver accessories she was wearing all glittered fantastically as they reflected the lights. I was gonna say I don't see any crucifixes, but she does have a cross. It felt like I was starting to understand why there were so many threads about her on @channel. In this kind of concert, I'd always thought that the band members would be more energetic, but Fez seemed incredibly indifferent during the intermission. She was pretty much the exact opposite of the excited audience. Maybe that was just the type of person she was. But it seemed like the audience wasn't surprised by that. They just stayed silent during the break, listening closely to Fez's words.
呼吸と性の門が閉じているからかもしれない。
The gate to Cocytus. In Greek mythology, it is one of the two rivers located at the entrance to the underworld. The name translates to River of Lamentation. The dead cross this river in order to enter the underworld. It's funny, I've got a character that I created named Cocytus. I'm sorry, what? Cocytus? What language was she even speaking?
世界の均衡は大いなる意志が生まれてから数千年間保たれていた。
I haven't heard shit being talked about the greater will since SMT.
でも今それは崩れつつある。とても不安定。だから私は歌うわ。
Okay.
君たちのカオスを受け入れてあげる。
I shall accept your chaos. Here in the background. Head! Meanwhile, Takumi thinks, Noah. Oh. I guess they were a goth punk band. So the band members probably had characters that they played. Huh. Maybe it was an easy way to win over the hearts of fans. Just spout some random nonsense that hinted that it might mean something, giving it enough mystique to keep people engrossed. Speaking of mystique, Fez was holding something strange in her hand. In her left hand, there was a plain old mic, but in the other, she was holding some sort of weirdly shaped mic stand. It looked kind of like a sword. It was shaped so elegantly, it felt sinister. It looked so sharp that if you even so much as grazed it, it would slice your finger in two. It was huge too, as tall as Fez, in fact. Huh. There were also lines of glass embedded into it, which glowed with an ominous blue light. I couldn't tell if it was really a sword or not, but either way, it wasn't half bad as a character accessory. No complaints there. No, so far she's got a good design. I was strangely captivated by it. Then, using only her right arm, Fez casually lifted the huge mic stand. And with an underhand grip, she swung it sideways. The blue light from the glass drew a wide arc with its afterglow. What the hell? That was so dangerous! What if it hit someone in the crowd? That wasn't a mic stand. Could it be a sword? And every night she would use it to cut the throat of some poor audience member, harvesting blood to offer to the demon girl! Or something. So is this concert actually some sort of black mass organized by a bunch of witches? No, we only have like actual meetings on Thursdays, and we don't really do black masses anymore. Realize it's, we want to stick into the modern day. We don't do blood sacrifices. That's just honestly just a little bit of a myth. And also, I'm sorry, kissing a demon's butt? Really? Dude, we set up a table and we all just drink tea, and if a demon wants some fucking tea, he'll get some fucking tea. I wasn't supposed to tell people that.
次は3曲目
I just realized I forgot to read that. A fierce chill ran down my spine just thinking about it. Goosebumps covered my entire body. I should really get out of here ASAP. But the moment I thought that, Fez let out a gentle whisper. Up next, our third song of the night is
密教の首飾り
The Necklace of Vajrayana. The crowd let out a huge cry of joy upon hearing that. Blonde guitarist! Holy shit, that is a sword! Also, Ragnar the Blood Edge in the back there on the guitar there, on the bass. A moment later, the members of Phantasm all started playing, and a second flood of sound poured into my ears. This video is gonna get claimed. Then again, everything to deal with music, this video has been... This entire series is constantly being claimed! Ah! Oh fuck! I forgot to read that because I was too engrossed. A thunderous roar came from the speakers, a roar that felt like it was going to blow out my eardrums. How are these people not gone deaf yet? Hanging out in places like this all the time. Oh my god, this sounds really good though. Looking to my side, I noticed Misumi-kun was fully into it, pumping his fist in sync with the rest of the audience. Oh my god, this actually sounds really good. I want to look this up now. The intro ended. Fez began to sing, and when I heard the lyrics, I swallowed hard. Oh. Oh, it just kind of stopped. She was singing the prophetic song that had been posted all over @channel. It was a dark piece that didn't feel like the slightest bit optimistic. Even its melody felt like a religious psalm, and the lyrics definitely didn't help. Everyone was getting riled up at first, but as the song went on, the excitement dropped further and further, and by the end, everyone just stood there not saying a word. But that was because everyone was fully lost in the sound. Some of them just stared at Fez, completely entranced. There was definitely something about Fez's singing voice that captivated people. Even as I battled fear and nausea in the middle of the crowd, I found myself listening very closely to her song, not wanting to miss it. It does sound good. Goosebumps sprang up all over me. For a moment, it felt like the air itself had frozen over. Seriously, that is not a mic stand, that is just straight up a fucking sword. I kind of want it. Sword looks dope as hell. Like, for real, that sword looked awesome! The song ended. Fez was looking down at the stage, swaying her body from side to side as she soaked in the last echoes of the music. And then she suddenly looked back up. And without even gazing around for a second, she instantly... no, we are not doing this right now. Looked at me. Okay, time for another delusion. How many delusions have we had at this point? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait, this one wasn't a delusion. That was... Oh, okay, I guess it wasn't. 9. Okay, that's quite a bit there. Takumi, I'll give you one more chance. I'll give you one more chance to have a positive delusion. Looked at me. And it wasn't like she just glanced in the general direction of my eyes, or like she made brief eye contact with me, or anything like that. Fez was blatantly looking right at me. I'd even go so far as to say she was staring at me, fixedly, as if evaluating my existence, as if searching deep within my heart. Her gaze was all too intense, and yet... somehow she seemed a little sad. Alright, locked in. What's gonna happen? As she descended from the stage and to the audience, I couldn't take my eyes off of her. What was going through her head, I wondered. The rest of the Phantasm members resumed playing, but Fez wasn't singing this time. She just wandered about in the middle of the crowd. And then she casually threw her jacket off, exposing her shoulders. The previously quiet fans were getting excited once again. Everyone threw their fists in the air as they jumped up and down wildly. They made the ground shake so hard it felt like an earthquake. However, nobody laid a finger on Fez. Maybe they thought she was too holy of an existence to be touched. Normally, if a girl with her charisma dove into the crowd, it wouldn't be surprising if they got crushed to death. But it seemed that Phantasm's herd of sheep had agreed to restrain themselves, all abiding by the unspoken rule of do not touch Fez. And in doing so, they could feel Fez's presence right in front of them. They could savor the fragrance of Fez's sweat. They could touch the same air as Fez. Weirdos. And that was the greatest joy her followers could ever know. Until this point, I thought that was just any other performance. But I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw what Fez did next. She casually began... I gave you a chance, Takumi. And it wasn't like... Anyway, we're going red. Whoa, where the hell is this? Before I knew it, I was slowly walking on a rooftop all alone. The wind was extremely strong, blowing raindrops into me from the side. What was strange, though, was that I didn't feel cold. I remembered this place. It felt like I had been there many times before. Oh, I knew where it was now. This dreary scenery surrounded by a fence. It was the school rooftop. I took a look around me, but the rain had made everything so hazy. I couldn't make out anything. It was surreal. It felt like the world itself had become blurred. Okay, so I wasn't imagining things. I think you really are the same girl from before. But then again, this is a delusion right now, so... Beyond the haze on the other side of the fence was Fez. She was standing there facing me, and she was soaking wet. She was looking straight at me, just like at this concert, and in her right arm, just like before, she was gripping that sword-like mic stand tightly. The wind blowing from below sent Fez's soaked hair fluttering furiously in the air. If she even slightly lost her balance, she would definitely fall, and at this height, that would be a death sentence. Just looking at her made me stop dead in my tracks. And yet, despite where she was, Fez stood tall without the slightest hint of fear in her eyes. On the verge of tears, Fez gently extended her left hand toward me. Let's jump off together. It was almost as if she was asking me to go with her, trying to seduce me. I couldn't give any response. I had no idea what to do. Fez said nothing back to me either. She just spread her arms out wide, taking a pose as if she'd been crucified. Why am I getting like Silent Hill 2 vibes right now? Suddenly the rain and the wind stopped. I tried to say something, but I couldn't make a sound. Nothing would come out of my mouth. Fez's body slowly tilted backward. Everything seemed to be happening in slow motion. I tried to reach out toward Fez, but my own movements were in slow motion too, so I could only look on in frustration as my arms slowly extended out in front of me. Fez was already closing her eyes, and not long after, her figure disappeared from my line of sight. Fuck, okay, that jump scared me.
鬱だ
God, that's depressing. I've been getting lost in my own delusions as usual, but it all gone south pretty quickly. Oh, well, that just goes to show how strong the aura Fez gave off truly was. She sort of had this sense of ruinous beauty to her. That said, I didn't have the slightest fucking clue what ruinous beauty was supposed to mean, though. LOL. Okay, SOZ, Lamau. What the why are you? In the end, I got sick from the size of the crowd at the concert, so I had to rush to leave the venue. As a result, I'd barely watched any of the performance at all, and honestly, I never wanted to go ever again. Well, then, guess I'll log on to ESO or something. That ought to rid me of this depression. You know, you say that. To me, ESO was my life. It was my happy place, a breath of fresh air that let me forget all about the real world. As long as I could immerse myself in ESO, I could forget about all my troubles. I could stop being me, instead wander Baselard as Neidhart. But today, Neidhart was a little off for some reason. Yes, I knew that he relied entirely on my inputs and my decisions, but somehow I found myself struggling to pull off things I could normally do with my eyes closed. This game was supposed to be a breath of fresh air, but today, the more I played it, the more irritated I got.
なんだよこいつ捨てるぞお前
I knew it was all my fault, but I still took my anger out on Neidhart.
ああもうムカつく
I yanked at my hair and kicked the bare steel wall. Having let out all my anger, I took a deep breath and sat back down on my chair. I stared vacantly at my monitor. Neidhart was just standing there, facing toward the gates of the city of Shangri-Lu, free of my control. His back was facing toward me, just as it always was when I fought enemies, and of course he was at the maximum level.
僕の経験値っていくつなんだろう
2. Had the human known as Nishijo Takumi leveled up even slightly since he'd started playing ESO? No, since he'd been born. If I had, then why was I still so bad at talking to people, even though I was nearly an adult? Why was I a borderline shut-in? If I didn't log in as Neidhart for weeks, would he also turn into a shut-in like me? Whose eyes are those eyes? I suddenly remembered those words as I stared at Neidhart's back. I was mildly interested in what Neidhart would do when I wasn't controlling him. So figuring out to observe him for a little bit, I left my keyboard alone as I ate some chips.
もしナイトハルトに自我があるとしたら
This is an interesting experiment, letting your game character sit there and seeing if they do anything on their own. A bit crazy, but... Then surely he'd waltz right into the city of Shangri-Lu, wind blowing against his shoulders, right? He was the hero everyone worshipped, after all. Oh, another delusion? Already?
ナイトハルト僕はいつでもお前を見てるんだぞ
This quick already with another delusion? Okay, surely this positive one is not bad.
お前はそれに気づいてるの
Surely this one won't be bad. And then, Let's go to the 2D world. I hadn't typed anything, and yet Neidhart still spoke. Thinking it was just an optical illusion, I rubbed my eyes, but the message was still there, displayed in the chat. Go to the 2D world? What was that supposed to mean? It's the same thing that Sarah said!
それって僕に言ってるの？
It's the same fucking thing that Sarah said in one of the other ones. Even you can be a hero. We'll fight together. You're not into 3D, right? You couldn't care less about it.
いや、そうだけど。
Neidhart was speaking to me. The player controlling him. What the fuck? Did he have a will of his own after all? Place your hand on the monitor. When you do, you'll be able to enter Baselard as Nishijo Takumi. The password is... Whose eyes are those eyes?
だが断る。二次元世界に行くならせっかくだから僕はエロゲの世界を選ぶぜ。
Of course you would.
バゼラードはお前に任せるよ、ナイトハルト。
After replying, I used force shutdown to turn off my computer. Okay, that was an interesting sort of delusion. Now what we got going on here? I'll tell you exactly what happened. I reluctantly decided to go to school today, but before I knew it, I found myself going to buy a phone with my little sister. I'm sure you don't understand what I'm saying, but I don't really understand it either. I thought I was going insane.
お兄何ブツブツ言ってんの？
You're actually going to get a phone?
それよりほらこの機種はどうかって聞いてるんだけど。
Depends. I think I want to go home. Besides, how many times do I have to tell you that I don't need a cell phone? God, it hurts having a sister this brain dead. Then why are you with her? When I'd gone to school today, Nanami had made her assault right in my classroom. After happily saying, "Wow, you actually came to school today?" She'd ordered me to go out and buy a phone with her once school was over. Once the bell rang, I tried to escape without her noticing, but I'd forgotten how quick Nanami was on her feet. So after being chased and easily caught up to, I found myself being dragged all the way to the front of the station. I didn't want to go anywhere near the station, and I felt like that the whole way there. Even now, I already felt like I was going to throw up. Nanami, though, not giving a damn about what I felt, was busy admiring the many different models on display in the front of the store. I tried to wrap my head around why exactly Nanami was so insistent about getting me a phone, but I just got a headache instead.
これ色が結構可愛いじゃん。いいと思うな。
Since she was asking for my opinion, I gave a simple reply.
それっていい？
でもな、お兄にはちょっと可愛すぎかも。似合わなさそう。
See, it didn't matter what I said. This would happen all regardless. I completely lost track of how many times I'd said, "That's fine" by this point. She would ask for my opinion, but she didn't actually intend to listen to it. This is exactly why 3D girls sucked so much ass.
お兄大丈夫？やっぱり人の多さにやられちゃった？
And she's worrying about because she knows that I have a problem with crowds.
マクディで休もうか？
Mickey D's? McD? The fucking prime hangout spot for DQNs? That place was hell incarnate! I violently shook my head no.
そっか。じゃあなるべく早めに決めるね。でもちょっと迷っちゃっててさ。
Just take a pic, Takumi. I sighed, deciding to just leave Nanami behind and go home. While Nanami intensely examined the array of cell phones, I took my chance to slip away. You just left her there? As I turned toward 107, I saw something so strange it stopped me dead in my tracks. What was that? What, in the background? Across the crowds of people, On the stair at 107 stood a girl that stuck out like a sore thumb. Oh no. Was she holding a sword? What, I mean, this girl on top of the stairway? Is that a sword she's holding? The color and aura gave off felt somewhat similar to the mic stand Fez had been using at the concert. In fact, I'd say it was perfectly fair to think of them in the same vein. But even then, it was still one massive sword. It might have been even longer than Fez's mic stand. To my surprise, the girl was wearing a sume uniform. I couldn't make out her face from this distance, but despite holding something so conspicuous, the girl seemed relaxed as could be. She simply watched the people walk down the street from atop the stairs. Talk about bravery. I was seriously impressed. I couldn't believe she was walking around right smack in the middle of Shibuya with that massive toy sword. Must have had one hell of a humiliation fetish. Was the sword a cosplay prop for some new anime? Then again, I was pretty familiar with all the anime that were airing. Was there really a series with a sword like that? Had it slipped under my radar? Of course, walking around Shibuya holding one would be too much for me, but the sword itself was pretty damn cool. Kind of wanted to get one myself, honestly. I wonder if I could get one in Akiba. Even better if I could order it online.
Oni?
Yep, there it is. What? I was suddenly struck with an elbow to the back. The pain almost made me black out and collapse on the spot. I turned around to find an Nanami with her hands on her hips, sullen as could be.
もしかして逃げようとした？
Yes.
確かにナナが選ぶのに時間かけすぎたのは悪いと思うけどさ。だからってナナを置き去りにして逃げようとするなんてひどいよ。
I don't think he cares. I lazily shook my head from side to side.
お兄のバカ、携帯の電磁波の浴びすぎで腎臓を悪くして死んじゃえ。
Hit me with so many EM waves that I die of a kidney failure? I guess that's one threat. That is definitely a threat you can throw at somebody. Let me read that. Okay, EM waves. Waves that exhibit properties of both electricity and magnetism. First formally postulated by James Clerk Maxwell in 1864. The electric field and magnetic field's oscillations cause them to mutually propagate each other, resulting in a wave that radiates through its surroundings. For that reason, these waves are referred to as electromagnetic radiation. Electromagnetic waves are divided by frequency into radio waves, infrared light, visible light, X-rays, ultraviolet light, and gamma rays. Electromagnetic waves have long been thought to have harmful effects on the human body, but the World Health Organization has made a statement claiming that there is no scientific foundation behind the idea, nor any evidence that supports a causal relation between the two. However, there is currently no evidence that disproves a relationship either. Wait, what the fuck? I thought I was going... What? Okay, short for the full quote, I'll tell you exactly what happened. I, blank, but before I knew it, blank. I'm sure you don't understand what I'm saying, but I don't really understand it either. I thought I was going insane. It wasn't anything simple like hypnosis or super speed. On top of that, I felt as if I only got to experience the tip of the iceberg. A quotation from a popular manga about bizarre adventures, often used in order to cope with difficult to understand situations in a comedic fashion. Is that a JoJo reference? I am talking so much that I'm starting to get mush mouth. I think. Also known as a visual illusion, a phenomenon in which information is perceived incorrectly, but the person perceiving it is still able to logically discern that it is incorrect. This can happen regardless of the person's mental state. One of the most famous examples of this is the Muller-Lyer illusion. Sight is established when light perceived by the eyes is transmitted to the cerebrum via the optic nerve. Once it reaches that location, that location, it acts as a stimulus, and the light information is translated into what we perceive as sight. However, this process involves extrapolating the structure of the external world based purely on light information, which is only made possible by utilizing a filter of empirical data. This leaves room for errors in perception. There is a theory that states that optic illusions occur when an error is generated as a result of the brain operating under a cause and effect hypothesis, but arriving at a false conclusion. In this case, the conclusion based on one's experiences up until that point does not match up with reality, causing dissonance. As well as this, there's a theory that humans block out 99% of what they perceive. It is said that if a person were to process all 100% of what they perceive, they would not be able to remain sane. Terrifying. The fuck was her deal?
一生懸命お兄のために選んであげてたナナがバカみたいじゃん。こうなったらもう適当に決める。お兄なんてナナと同じ機種で十分だよ。
Alright. Nanami forcefully grabbed my arm.
本気で今日契約するんだからね。それまで絶対逃がさない。
He needs a phone, so do it.
わかったよ。話せよ。
わかったならさっさと来て。
I didn't have a clue why Nanami had gotten so worked up. She really was a pain in the ass. Oh my god, man. Oh. In the end, Nanami picked out a model with ease, as if she hadn't just spent 10 years trying to choose. After spending around an hour on the contract and other technical stuff, I tried to finally head back home with my phone, but Nanami stopped me.
ナナが初期設定してあげるからマクディやろ。
We gotta go to Mickey D. Gotta get him a chicken nuggets. Without waiting for a response, she grabbed me by the back of my collar and started dragging me to the nearest Mickey D against my will. I don't know, yeah, I was right. It is a McDonald's.
どうせお兄携帯持って帰っても電源入れずにほったらかしにするに決まってるんだから。
Yeah, he probably would.
ナナがちゃんと使えるようにしてあげる。
God damn it, how much longer was she planning to hold me hostage? And of all the places she could have chosen to do it in, why Mickey D's? The inside of the Shibuya McDonald's. The inside of the Shibuya McDonald's was the embodiment of chaos. There were shitloads of people, and none of them ever shut the hell up. The sheer amount of DQNs was off the charts. At the table right next to us sat 3 DQN tier mothers with dyed brown hair, and to make things even better, they'd brought their kids with them. They just left their children, 3 little crotch goblins with red highlights to be specific, to run around the restaurant squealing their heads off. Instead of controlling them, they just kept on chatting away. At a different table was yet another group of DQNs, this time made up of 4 high school guys all laughing like obnoxious pricks. Next, 2 high school girls, complete with baggy socks and dyed brown hair, sat opposite to each other, hyper-focused on their phones. They didn't even bother talking. Beside them was a snoring middle-aged businessman, slumped down on his table, making it pretty obvious that he was skipping out on work. But what really made me double-take was this table close by, with a group of 5 elementary schoolers. Some boys, some girls. They all sat there with their little school bags on the floor, happily chatting it up with each other as their legs swung back and forth beneath the table. So, considering that it was, co-ed, was it a mixer? It was, wasn't it? Weren't they elementary schoolers? Well, regardless, the point is that as far as the eye could see, there were groups of people that I avoided like the plague. Nanami had no problem at all relaxing at a place like this. Me, on the other hand, just setting foot in here only served to make my headache and nausea 1,000 times worse. Wait, why did I have to play along with my sister and stay here in the first place?
ねえねえ、着信メロディーはどうする？なんか希望ある？
Probably something from Bloodtune. Without even looking in my direction, Nanami played around with my phone as she prodded me for an answer.
アニソン。
却下。
Oh, come on!
そんなだからお兄はオタクさんなんだよ。
I have freaking Umineko's Golden Slaughterer set as my alarm tone. I wake up to that every fucking... I'm just real. I wake up to that every morning before work. You're the one asking me what I prefer! Come on, it's my phone! So at least let me pick what I want.
あ、そうだ。大村彼らの新曲にしたら？あれすっごくいい曲だよ。最近のナナのお気に入り。
Omura Carrera.
それこそ却下だ。
Yeah, I know. That's overruled.
うん、まあ、お兄に大村彼らは似合わないか。
After showing how little she actually cared about what I thought, Nanami took a bite of one of her french fries. I should probably mention this bitch asked for a fish sandwich combo before dinner, one that I had to pay for. I, meanwhile, was feeling so garbage that my appetite was long gone. Piece of shit sister spoiling her appetite and my fucking bullshit. Baby, you're a baby.
あ、そうそう。それとね。
What? For whatever reason, Nanami placed her bag on her lap and started digging through its contents. Hmm? What?
お、あったあった。
Then she proudly took out
ゲロカエルンの不良品。
a defective Gyro Froggy?
不良品じゃないよ。先週出たギョロリゲロカエルン。
The goggling Gyro Froggy?
は？
The what?
知らないんだ。やっぱ遅れてるな、お兄は。
I'll have you know the rock is quite comfortable.
ゲロカエルンって毎週金曜日に新作が発売されてるんだよ。
Every Friday? How many are there?
もう全部で12種類ぐらいあるんだから。
So this Gyro Froggy is not that old. It's been 12 weeks. Potentially 13 at this point. 12. Seriously? Was there really enough demand for weekly releases?
ナナが携帯につけてるのは最初に出た普通のゲロカエルンでしょ。
I oddly want to know what the other Gyro Froggies look like now.
で、次がデブッチョゲロカエルンで、その次がカクカクゲロカエルン。
So there was Fatty Gyro and Rugged Gyro. Without skipping a beat, Nanami recited the names of the various Gyro Froggies.
第4弾がのっぺらゲロカエルンで、第5弾が輝くゲロカエルン。
Smooth Gyro, Shining Gyro.
第6弾が一番人気があって猫ゲロカエルンっていうの。
Cat Gyro?
その後が幽霊ゲロカエルン、眠るゲロカエルン、燃えるゲロカエルン、ゾンビゲロカエルン、酔っ払いゲロカエルン。
So Spooky Gyro, Sleepy Gyro, Burning Gyro, Zombie Gyro, Drunk Gyro. Can I have the spooky one? How the hell did she remember all those? Hang on. Had she?
お前コンプリートしてるの？
もちろんだよ。全部集めなきゃ意味ないもん。
Gotta catch them all?
毎週買うのに行列ができるんだからね。
How expensive are these Gyro Froggies? For a half-assed piece of garbage like that? To be honest, even I could shit out a better design. Wait, why'd she even decide to start lecturing me on Gyro Froggies to begin with?
というわけで、このギョロリゲロカエルンあげる。
Oh my god.
なんで？
このストラップを携帯につければ、少しは女子から「お、やるな」っていう目で見てもらえるから。
No, we are not putting that on my phone. After saying that, Nanami started to put the strap on my phone. I don't want that, the fuck?
コンプしなきゃ意味ないんだろ。僕がそれもらったらお前揃わないぞ。
Fair.
心配しなくても大丈夫。2つ買ったもん。
You bought two?
毎回2つ買ってるのか？
I was starting to seriously doubt her aesthetic test.
今回だけだよ。お兄の携帯用に余分に買ったの。
How old are you?
わざわざ。
わざわざ。
Purposefully. Having not finished attaching the strap, Nanami gave a satisfied nod before wrapping her mouth around her soda straw. Then she suddenly leaned forward, startling me.
別に並んだのはお兄のためじゃないよ。
baka.
あくまでついでなんだから。
いらない。
は
Still leaning forward, Nanami opened her eyes wide. She looked like she might throttle me at any moment.
あ、いらないって。ナナがわざわざ買ってきてあげたのに。
Yes.
ついでだったんだろ。
Yeah. You did.
っていうか、僕ゲロカエルとか興味ないし、むしろキモいし。
Why are my eyes are constantly drifting to this purple-haired girl over to the left. I don't know why. My brain just is like purple. Oh.
だからお兄は女子にモテないんだよ。
I can think of several reasons why he's not popular with girls. I can think of a few. And none of them have anything to do with freaking Giro Froggy. I'd almost expected her to slap me, but surprisingly Nanami managed to rein in her temper and sit back down. Then, instead of taking her anger out on me, she started nibbling on a fry instead as she sulked.
でも抵抗しても無駄だからね。ギョロリゲロカエルン、もうくっつけちゃったもん。
I'll just cut it off. She sure was acting like the queen of everything. Then again, I knew jack shit about cell phones, so it was true that Nanami knew best here.
もし勝手に外したら毎週並んでもらうの刑だからね。
What, you gonna force me to buy him for you?
並ぶって何に？
決まってんじゃん。新作ゲロカエルンを買うための行列。2時間待ちとか普通だから。
A couple hours? Not a chance in hell. No way was I gonna let my sister hit me with a threat like that. For a while after that, Nanami wordlessly continued to fiddle around with my phone. I wasn't particularly picky about whatever she was setting up, so I was honestly grateful for the silence.
なんだか変な気分だな。
Huh? Strange? The next time she opened her mouth, her sullen demeanor from before had completely disappeared. I guess she only needed a few minutes to forget annoying shit instead of having to sleep it off. Talk about easygoing. In a way, I envied her.
うん、やっぱ変だよ。
What? What's
お兄
strange?
とこうして2人で出かけるのって久しぶりな気がするもん。
Because we clearly haven't. I'm a shut-in.
いつ以来かな。よく思い出せないや。
Actually, good question.
お兄はいっつも部屋にこもってアニメ見てるかゲームしてるかだもんね。ま、たまにはこういうのもいいかな、新鮮で。
And the thing is, I can tell she's coming from a good place. She's legitimately trying to help.
さすがに毎日はナナも嫌だけど。
And she has acquired, I was gonna say burger, but I forgot, she got a fish sandwich. Nami placed my phone on the table and picked up her fish sandwich. She happily undid the wrapping, then heartily sank her teeth in. Come to think of it, it felt like she'd said at one point that the fish sandwich here was her favorite food.
せいぜい太るがいいさ。
Bro! Nanami instantly stopped moving. She glared at me menacingly. Then, after hesitating for a second, she bashfully held out her half-eaten fish sandwich.
半分食べる？
I'm not eating after you!
もう手遅れだよ。うん。
そういうこと言うと女子に嫌われるって覚えといた方がいいよ、バカ鬼。
Yeah, I know. Then Nami ended up finishing the fish sandwich all on her own. What a fucking... Stop! You're making me say things I wouldn't say, dude! Stop it! Oh my god, What a fucking badass. I wouldn't say that! Oh my god. Oh god, that's a homeless man. I'm stopping. I'm starting to. I think I can't remember what the phrase is. I start talking too much, and then I start to go like a little bit of a mush mouth. Okay, I'm out. I got to listen to a damn good song. I had to void out a certain image out of my mind, and now we had a semi-okay moment between Takumi and his sister eating at a McDonald's, and just seemingly being okay. I don't know. I'm getting the fuck out of here. See you guys in the next video.